to present the trial of Anne Bonny and Mary Reed.
Okay, did you turn it on?
Sunday,
Okay.
November 28th, 1720. And we are inside the Court of Admiralty in Spanish Town, the capital of Jamaica. Anne Bonny and Mary Reed, two women pirates who sailed as part of the crew of Calico Jack Rackham, are being put on trial today. Just 10 days ago, the men of the crew, including Rackham himself, were found guilty and hanged.
Yeah!
When the pirates were captured in October by Captain Jonathan Barnett, the men were so rum-soaked that they were in no condition to fight. As you will hear through sworn testimony, Captain Barnett stated the women were the only two who offered any resistance, and they fought like hellcats until they were taken prisoner. Before Jack Rackham met his fate with the executioner, he asked permission to see Anne Bonny one last time. This is how it went.
Anne, my darling, it is so good to see you one last time before I am to be hanged.
It's good to see you, Jack.
'Tis a strange pass indeed, for me to die in the gallows tomorrow and sit in a condemned cell tonight.
Aye, Jack. 'Tis sorry I am to see you so. But had you fought more like a man, you need not die like a dog.
And now the trial of those notorious women pirates, Anne Bonny and Mary Reed.
Yeah!
Please be upstanding. For Honourable Governor
You stayed sitting.
Nicholas Laws presiding.
By the authority vested in me by the gracious King George, I hereby declare this Admiralty Court to be in session. You may be seated. Where, sir, are the rest of the jurors?
Dizzy's Tavern, sir.
Not a very good way to start. Bailiff,
Aye, sir.
aye, would you please swear in the accused?
Aye, sir. You, Anne Bonny, swear to tell the truth. Nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I certainly do.
Hey!
You, Mary Reed, also known as Mark Reed, swear by Almighty God to tell the truth and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Hey!
Yay!
Bailiff, please inform the prisoners of the charges brought against them.
Aye, sir. Mary Reed and Anne Bonny, you are hereby charged with dressing as men and with piracies and robberies committed by each of you on the high seas and within jurisdiction of this court. That is in unlawful men's attire. You both did feloniously and wickedly plunder and take from all such persons which you did meet with on the high seas. Piratically did steal, take, and carry away several merchant ships and the apparel and tackle of the same sloop, the total value of £1,000 currency of Jamaica. to naming corporal for you of their lives.
Thank you, Madam. Prisoners at the bar, you have been informed by the Court of Admiralty of the charges brought against you. How do each of you plead?
Not guilty, Your Honor.
Not guilty, Your Honor.
Really? Both of you?
Aye.
How tiresome. Now, do you and Bonnie have anything to say in your defense?
Aye, Your Honor. Truly, I am innocent. The victim of dishonest people who have told outrageous lies about me.
Such as?
Well, they said at the tender age of 13 that I stabbed a servant girl with a fork.
Heavens, they said that?
Aye, and it weren't true, Your Honor. Now, at the age of 16, I was forced to defend myself against a much older man who unlawfully attempted to have his way with me.
How exactly did you defend Your Honor?
What? I beat him, Your Honor. I gave him such a beating that he had to take to his bed for a week.
Aye, and quite well, madam. Well done.
And, Your Honor, now it is true that I made an unfortunate marriage, and when my father disinherited me, I ran away with my new husband to New Providence Island. Of course, at that time, neither of us knew it was also known as the Pirates' Republic. And I want to make clear, Your Honor, that there is absolutely no truth to the rumor that I burned down my own father's plantation in return for the injuries done to me. That is a complete and utter lie, Your Honor.
As you say. Go on.
Well, and it is also true that at an official function I once decked with my fist the governor's wife.
Of which island would that be, madam?
Of New Providence, of course.
You decked the New Providence governor's wife?
Well, but in my defense, she was really asking for it.
Yeah!
I see. Have any more testimony for us, Ms. Bonnie?
I do. Now, it is also true that I once fell in love with that rascal John Rackham, and I ran away with him upon the sloop William.
Aye.
But it is absolutely untrue that I dressed as a man on these voyages. I mean, look at me. When I do that. And it's completely false that I joined in with the pirates on their depredations on the high seas.
Really? Not once?
Not at all, Your Honor. Throughout all their many vicious felonies, I was but an innocent witness. Myself held, much against my will.
So, it is your evidence that you were aboard the William during the time of these crimes with which you are charged. But you did not participate in any of these crimes.
Aye, Your Honor. You shall hear from a reputable character witness for myself, Mr. Hosea Tisdale. He shall exonerate me completely.
We shall see. Now do you, Mary Reed, have anything to say in your defense?
Yes, Your Honor. It is true that on occasion I have dressed as down. But that was in a former life and outside the jurisdiction of this court.
Would you care to elaborate?
Your Honor, I first dressed as a man. I was first dressed as a boy by my mother to preserve an income from her husband's family. Later, I found that dressing as a boy allowed me to work as a male servant for money more greater and in greater safety than I could have had as a maid. Later, in search of adventure, I ran away to sea and became a sailor, equal as any man.
I see.
I then joined the Flemish forces and fought as a man in the War of the Spanish Succession. Through courage and skill, I won promotion and praise from my superiors.
They weren't supposed to start
None
now.
suspected that I was a wolf. I left the forces to marry my lady, and together we ran the three horseshoes inn at near Brent Castle, until he unfortunately passed away. Whereupon I returned to sea and was eventually taken on a ship by pirates.
My word, that is indeed an impressive history.
Thank you, my lord. I do confess that when the pirates asked as honest
as a pirate yourself, you still favored the death penalty for pirates.
Indeed I did, Your Honor. In my view, the prospect of execution deterred the weak-livered and the rascally from going out of account, and reserved a sweet life for those of us who deserved it.
Ah!
My word, madam.
But I have reformed, and no longer hold that opinion. I received the king's pardon in 1718, and I've stayed on the straight and narrow path ever since.
And you committed no robberies, nor violent acts since receiving your pardon?
No robberies, and only one act of violence, that being a lawful duel.
Good heavens! And how did that come about, Miss Reed?
It so happened that despite his wicked acts, I had a fondness for one of the crew. He was such a sweet-natured boy. For a pirate, another pirate, a vicious bully, happened to challenge this poor boy to a duel, which broke my heart, and I knew this young friend could not stand against this hulking brute.
A tragic pass indeed. So, what did you do?
I picked a quarrel and I challenged the bully to a duel myself. Said duel was to take place an hour before the one previously arranged by my friend. I thought that if he backed down from me, the shame would make him accept my friend's apology.
And did he back down?
No, Your Honor. We met in combat, and I killed him.
Yay!
Mrs. Reed, you expect the court to believe that you killed, in fair combat, a man who, by your account, was considerably larger and stronger than yourself?
Yes, Your Honor. Yet behind my arm were several years of military training, experience of war, and behind his was only strength, anger, and experience of crime.
I see. And this was your only act of violence while sailing with the pirates?
Sailing against my will, Your Honor. And yes, it was.
Thank you, Mrs. Reed. Bailiff,
Your Honor.
call forth the first witness.
First witness. Mrs. Dorothy Thomas, the island of Jamaica. To you, Dorothy Thomas, swear by Almighty God to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, my lord.
No. She's lying.
Mrs. Thomas, do you recognize the two women prisoners at the bar?
Yes.
Yes, my lord.
And would you be so good as to explain to the court how you came to know these women, prisoners at the bar?
Oh, yes, my lord. This September past, I was rowing in my canoe on the north side of Jamaica. I was taking some, very ordinary provisions to a very sick friend.
Silence.
They call it now?
Silence!
Scarcely been gone 3/4 of an hour when I eyed an armed sloop approaching me in great haste. It was filled with young men. Lots of young men.
Oh!
They were shouting something at me, so I decided to draw closer to get a better look at them. I mean, to hear what they were saying. They drew up alongside me when suddenly I was lifted out.
Gotcha.
Lifted out of my canoe. Oh, quite by force, mind you, and most against my will. In the meantime, there were other men taking my provisions from my canoe. The men on board, however, were busy taking my personal things from me.
Personal effects, Mrs. Thomas.
Oh, yes, my lord. They took my rings, a gold necklace, oh, and a diamond brooch that my dear departed mother had given me just before she passed away.
Take your time, Mrs. Thomas.
And
men to rip the very clothing from my body and have their way with me.
Sparkly!
But then those women pirates came on deck. They were each armed with a pistol. One even had a machete. And they shouted at me and swore at me most wickedly, my lord. Then the prisoner, Mary Green, told her captain to murder me.
Shut up.
I believe that wicked pirate captain only had lust in his heart. He gazed upon me as if he could see through my very clothing. I was certain he was going to have his way with me. But then the other prisoner, Anne Bonny, started berating the captain most wickedly. She told him to shoot me and throw my body over the side in order to prevent me from alerting the authorities or telling them of their whereabouts or of the dastardly things they had done to me.
Mrs. Thomas, were the women, prisoners at the bar, dressed in appropriate women's attire?
No, my lord. They were dressed like men. They were wearing men's trousers and shirt. They had on a man's jacket. And they even had their hair tied up in handkerchiefs.
Then, if the women were disguised as men, how did you come to know they were women?
Well, I knew them to be women by the very largeness of their, breasts, my lord.
Yes, I see what you mean. Mrs. Thomas, please continue.
Well, the women pirates continued to insist that their captain murder me. But instead, he told me to get back into my canoe and have a safe journey home.
And did those dastardly rogues have their way with you, Mrs. Thomas?
No, I'm sorry to say they didn't.
Begging your pardon,
Oh,
Mrs. Thomas.
I'm not sorry. I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Mrs. Thomas. Next witness, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Hosea Tisdale of Jamaica.
Woo! Tizzy!
You tell him, Busy.
Remember what we told you, Tizzy?
Hello? Go aboard.
At your service.
Sorry, Caleb, please swear him in.
Do you, Hosea Tisdale, swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Oh, of course. Always tells the truth. How may I assist you, my lord?
I am not a lord, Mr. Tisdale. Well, not yet. At least you may address me as your honor. Now, sir, could you explain to this court how you know these women, prisoners at the bar?
Oh, well, certainly. See, my name's Jose Tisdale, and I own Tizzy's Tavern. I'm here to tell you I don't believe any of these stories about how bad pirates treated people. Because I've known Jack Rackham and these ladies for many years, and they always did treat me just fine.
Would you care to elaborate, Mr. Tisdale?
Certainly. It was October of 1718. I was sailing with John Shattuck on the Endeavor. We were going to Salem, Massachusetts to get provisions for my tavern. Dizzy's Tavern. It's located, well, right over there. And if you come and partake of my hospitality, I think you'll find that I sell the finest rum and my beer can't be beat.
Mr. Tisdale, what is that you're imbibing in my courtroom, sir?
Oh, this is just the absolute finest. Certainly not rum.
It carry on, Miss Tisdale.
Oh, certainly. Where was I?
You were telling us,
Yes! Yes, it was October of 1718. I was on the Endeavor sailing to Massachusetts. And up with a nice man from London. Named Tom. Heading up to the colonies to visit his family there. No! His name was John!
Mr. Tisdale, bailiff.
Well, at any rate, I do remember the two French flutes I met on board. Sisters, I think. They were a real treat. I was having a very merry time with these two lovelies when suddenly I heard cannon fire in the distance. Lo and behold, it's my old friend Charles Vane. Well, Vane and his crew took the sloop by surprise, though none of the men offered any resistance. Well, except two French. Mother gave me this bottle. Your wife gave me this one, though.
Bailiff?
Getting something? Familiar?
Please stick to the facts at hand, Mr. Tisdale.
Certainly, certainly. Well, the pirates came aboard the sloop, took what they wanted, and told Shattuck and his men that they would not be harmed. Hell, I knew my friend Vane wouldn't harm anyone. And the old buddy Jack Racken was aboard, too. Why, those pirates gave us supper, and all the rum, wine, and beer we could drink.
Bailiff! Mr. Tisdale, would you care to continue at this point and please expedite your testimony?
Yes, my lord.
I am not a lord.
Your honor.
Thank you, sir.
Well, the pirates next morning told told Shattuck that he could go. Put him off in a sloop with some provisions, and off they went. But Rackham, who was quartermaster at the time, was kind enough to ask me to stay aboard the sloop that night, and I'm sure glad I did. Why, they showed me the finest hospitality a man could expect to have. Well, almost the finest hospitality. When you come to Tizzy's Tavern...
You, sir, have been warned, and you, young lady, this is most inappropriate conduct in a court of law. You will sit down.
Oh.
Mr. Tisdale, you've been warned.
Yes,
Continue, please.
your honor. Well, I stayed aboard the sloop for several nights. Vane and I below decks, drinking and chatting and reminiscing about the fine times we had whenever he visited my tavern.
Tizzy's Tavern!
Name I won't bother to
Lady, you've been warned.
And the next morning, we came upon a French ship. The pirates decided to plunder her. Well, Vane was 3 sheets to the wind by then. Could barely stand on 2 feet, let alone plunder a prize. And those Frenchmen, well, they put up quite a fight. Next thing I know, Vane's thinking, maybe it wasn't such a good idea after all. Rackham was angrier than a wet hen. Well, the pirates all got to fighting and arguing of the likes of which you ain't never seen. In the morning, I came upon a sloop that was heading back to my hometown. And Jack told me I could go if I wished to, and since I did have business to tend to, I decided to go. But he gave me provisions and even a bottle of wine. Said he wanted me to have a safe journey home, bless his heart.
Get to the point, sir.
No, the point is we remained friends for many a long year. I remember when you hooked up with those two hellcats. Oh, Harry, the prisons at the bar. Oh, we had fine times in this tavern then.
Young lady, you have been warned. Sit. And you, Mr. Tisdale, this court has heard quite enough from you.
Quite enough.
You are dismissed, sir.
Oh.
Thank you. Oh, and I do hope that they get set free soon. Tizzy's just won't be the same with all the likes of you gracing its presence.
Bailiff, please remove this witness at once. And Mr. Tisdale, if your head enters this court one more time, sir, I shall order the bailiff to have it removed. Next witness.
Yes, Your Honor. Captain Jonathan Barnett.
Thank you, Captain.
To you, Captain Jonathan Barnett. Swear by Almighty God to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Of course I swear to tell the truth.
Liar, liar!
I am Captain Jonathan Barnett, pirate hunter.
Boo!
I was sailing off Negro Point, off the west end of Jamaica. It was late at night, perhaps 10 p.m. It's the end of last October. When one of my lieutenants reported to me he saw a sloop laying off the shore. Well, no sooner had I pulled up my spyglass to take a look than a shot came out from the sloop. Well, I ordered my men to pull up alongside her, and as soon as we were within hailing distance, I cried out for the captain to identify himself. And he called back, "Jack Rackham from Cuba!" Well, immediately I identified that as he whom our good governor, Roger Woods, governor of these Bahamas, hath issued a proclamation of arrest for. So I called out for them to strike their colors. Someone, and I'm not sure quite yet who, cried back that they would strike no colors. And then they fired and shot at us! Oh, Your Honor, I ordered my men to return fire. And return fire we did. We blew off their boom and sent them all scurrying below decks like the drunken rats they were. They were drunken rats, cursing and yelling at us they were. Well, I ordered my men to board her. And as soon as we were there, I could smell the drunken stench coming up from below decks. Well, I ordered my men to gather them all up aboard so that we could arrest the lot of them.
Did the pirates surrender peacefully, Captain?
No, not at first. The prisoners at the bar there, they did put up quite a struggle. In fact, it went something like this.
say anything at that point in time?
No,
There's
sir.
a man among you, y'all come up and fight like the men you ought to be.
You know, sir, that testimony was so vivid. I could almost see it before my very eyes.
I could hear it myself, Your Honor.
Aye, sir. So the women were eventually taken into custody, Captain Barnett?
I eventually, but it took half a dozen men each to bring the two of them down.
Captain Barnett, did you know that the prisoners at the bar were women at that time?
Not at that time, no, sir. I mean, we didn't know there were women. With the sound of their voices, we could hear their cries, and then after we took them into custody, then it was, well, obvious feminine forms that told us that women they were.
Thank you, Captain Barnett. You may go, sir. Bailiff, are there any further witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Please remove the prisoners.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. How say ye, gentlemen? Are the prisoners guilty or not guilty of the piracies, felonies charged against them?
Not guilty.
Come from? Bailiff, remove this witch and have her flogged!
Sorry, Your Honor.
That's your one, sir. So, do you feel that the prisoners are guilty, sir, or not guilty?
More rum.
It's the burden, you drunken sot!
Oh, sorry, Your Honor.
Not guilty. Not guilty. Not guilty.
Silence! And, what?
Not guilty.
I said silence! And what sentence shall we pass, sir?
Oh, death. I love a good hanging.
Ah.
Boo.
Bailiff, please bring back the prisoners.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Mary Reed and Anne Bonny, you have each been found guilty of the piracies, robberies, and felonies on the high seas. Do either of you have anything to say at this time before sentencing is passed that you feel might help your case?
I beg your honors will consider the fact that I am with child.
Whoa.
Really? And you, Mary Reed, do you have anything to say?
I am also a child.
Whoa.
I was busy.
I see.